Hello, Bobcats. Mrs. Wellhite here. We are in Chapter 8, Lesson 2 today. I'm hoping that we'll be able to find the greatest common factor. It is a 5th grade standard, something we have to learn. I'm hoping that you'll be able to determine the greatest or the biggest common factor of a set of numbers. Why, Mrs. Wellhite? What's the purpose? What is the main idea? Well, you want to have those multiplication facts. If you learn your multiplication facts, it's going to increase your fluency or how fast you're able to solve problems. So today's lesson is going to help you get those facts memorized so you can learn to solve math problems faster. All right, what, Bobcats, do you already know about factors? Well, I know that 12 has some factors. 1 times 12 will give me 12. So the number 1 and the number 12 are factors. 2 times 6 equals 12. So 2 and 6 are factors. 3 times 4 is also 12. So if we look at the number 12, the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Let's look at 10. What are the factors of 10? Well, 1 times 10 and 2 times 5 will give you 10 if you multiply. So the number 10 has 4 factors. So from my experience, I know that factors are the numbers you use to multiply in order to get a number. And some numbers have more factors than others, like 12 has more factors than 10. All right, what are the steps? Well, number 1, the first thing you're going to do is make a list of the factors. Then find the greatest factor that they share. So, for instance, when we looked at 10 and 12 in the last slide, they shared some factors. You got to find the ones they share and really try to locate the greatest one they share. Finally, we will see if it's reasonable. Did we solve it correctly? Did we find the greatest one they share? So 1, make a list, find those factors. 2, circle the ones that they share and find the biggest. Once you find the biggest you've solved, go ahead and see, is it reasonable? Is it the largest one they really do share? Math in my world. Find the greatest common factor. Sometimes they put GCF. It's not KFC. It's GCF, greatest common factor, just because it's easier to write that. What's the greatest common factor of 60 and 54? Well, step 1, list the factors. Yay, they already listed the factors of 60 for us. They've already listed the factors of 54. Step 1 is done. So step 2, find the ones they share. Well, the common factors are 1, they share 2, they both have 2, right? They both have 1, they both have 3, they share 3. And they also both have a 6. Step 1, list the factors. Done for us. Woohoo! Step 2, find the ones they share and locate the greatest common factor. So step 3, solve. 6 is the greatest factor that they share. Is it reasonable? Yes, because I can see here there's no other factors that are shared. So 6 is the greatest common factor of those two numbers. I can move on. Find the greatest common factor of each set of numbers. Well, step 1, list the factors. 1 times 3. That's the only way to make 3, so it only has 2 factors. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. Notice that I list them in pairs. That just helps you keep track and not forget one. What are the factors of 18? Well, 1 times 18, 2 times 9 is 18, 3 times 6 is also 18. Step number 2. Well, I listed the factors. Now I got to find the ones they share. Well, they all have 1, They don't have 2. Oh, look, they do have 3. So the common factors are 1 and 3. Now I can solve. What's the greatest common factor of those 3 numbers? Well, the biggest number that they share is 3. Is it reasonable? Yes, it's reasonable because if you look above, no other factors are shared. So 3 is the greatest common factor. All right, independent practice. Find the greatest common factor of each set of numbers. Step 1, list the factors. How can I make 24? 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8 is 24. So they're factors, right? We have 4 times 6. Wow, 24 has a bunch of factors. Now we have to list the factors of 60. 1 times 60. Right? 2 times 30. It's an even number, so I can cut it in half. I know 2 is a factor. 3 times 20 is another factor. Okay, now I got to think, does 4 work for 60? 4 does, and 4 divides into 60, or 4 will go into 60 once. 15. 4 times 15 is 60. Now I got to see 5 works. Ooh, 5 times 12. I'm out of room here. Will 6 work? Yes, 6 times 10. Okay, 7 won't work, 8 won't work, 9 won't work, and now I'm at 10, so I can stop. Look at all those factors for 60. Wow. Step 1 done. Step 2, what are the ones they share? Well, they share 1. They share the factor of 2. They share 3. They share 4. So let's see. 3. I have 4 circled next. I'll do it this way because they're kind of away from each other. 5 is not shared. Ooh, 6 is one they share. Yeah. 7, 8, no, 9. Oh, 12. They both share 12. They don't share 24. Okay, I think I'm done. So step 3, solve. What is the biggest one they share? Well, the biggest factor they both have is 12. I know it's reasonable because nothing else is bigger than 12. On both list of factors. I can move on. It's reasonable. All right, we're still in independent practice. Moving on to number 7. Step 1 is list those factors. This time they gave us 3 numbers, so I'm going to start with 4. 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. So it has 3 factors. Let's look at the number 10. 1 times 10, 2 times 5. What about 14? Well, it has a factor of 1 and 14, 1 in itself, and 2 times 7. I've listed the factors. Step 2, find the ones they share. Well, they all share 1. They all have the factor of 2, and that's it. So now I got to do step 3, solve. What is the greatest common factor? Well, I surmise the answer to be 2. It's reasonable because no other factor is larger than 2 that they all share. So I know I have the right answer. All right, let's try number 9. I'm going to go ahead and start with step 1. What are the factors of 9? 1, 3 times 3, and 9. What are the factors of 18? Well, we have 1 times 18, 2 times 9. 3 times 6. I think I'm done with 18. Let's move on to 42. 1 times 42. I know 2 will work because it's an even number, so I can chop it in half. What's half of 42? 21. So 21 times 2. 3 also works. 3 will multiply times 14 to give you 42. 4 won't work. 5 is not a factor. 6 times 7 is 42. 8 won't work. 9. I'm done. I can move on. What are the ones they share? Well, they all have 1, and they share 3, and that's all. So the common factors are 1 and 3. What is the greatest common factor? Well, I understand the answer to be 3. I know it's reasonable because there's no factor that they share that's larger than 3. I have the right answer. Let's try some problem solving. Anika is placing photos in a scrapbook. Each page will have only one size of photo. She also wants to place the same amount of photos on each page. What is the greatest number of photos that could be on each page? There's a question mark, so that means I need to answer that. Well, in order to figure out how much will fit on each page, I'm going to go ahead and start with the factors. I'm going to list the factors of all 3 numbers. Well, I know that 1 times 8, and I also have 2 times 4, so 8 has 4 factors. Okay, now I'm going to move on to 12. What are the factors of 12? Well, I have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and then, of course, 3 times 4. Moving on, what are the factors of 16? 1 times 16, 2 times 8 is 16, and then I also have 4 times 4. So now I got to find what factors do they all share. Well, they all have a 1. They also share the factor of 2. They do not share 3, so I can't circle it. But they do share the factor of 4. I think that's the biggest one they share. So let's go back to the question. What's the greatest number of photos that could be on each page? The greatest number of photos that can be on each page is 4. And I know it's reasonable because that's the only one they share. Problem solving 12. 12 pens and 16 pencils will be placed in bags with an equal number of each item. What is the most number of bags that can be made? Well, let's start with those factors. What are the factors of 12? 1 and 12. 2 times 6 is 12, and 3 times 4. Now, what are the factors of 16? 1 times 16, 2 times 8 is 16, and then, of course, 4 times 4. Moving on to see which ones they share. Well, they both have 1, 2, they both have 4. So again, let's go back. I think I found the greatest common factor. What is the most number of bags that can be made? They can make 4 bags. I know it's reasonable because that's the greatest common factor. All right, Bobcats, we're finishing up. Chapter 8, Lesson 2, what did you learn today? Well, in summary, I learned that factors are the numbers we use to multiply to get a product. And when we're looking at factors, we can see that some factors are shared, and we can use that to help us solve some problems. I also know that when you're looking for the greatest common factor, it helps you remember your multiplication facts. So Bobcats, when you're working on your assignment today, practice those facts. And thank you for your attention.